Nemesis at Alton Towers is the most beloved roller coaster in the UK. But why is it the most beloved coaster? Even after 30 plus years of this coaster running and being in operation, it's still a fan favourite, even if it does look and ride a bit different than when it first opened in 1994. Now let's explore not only the history of Nemesis, but also the story and creation of the beloved UK roller coaster.
So, what got you into theme parks in the first place?
When I was younger, we had a holiday booked to Florida, and my mum and dad wanted to make sure that me and my younger brother could like theme parks and go around them. So we went to Chessington and Fort. Chessington when it first opened, and both Fort when it was really new. When we went to Florida and got back, that was it. I got the bug. I wrote a rate to different theme parks, got information and maps, and from then on, it's been part of my life. After I got back from Florida and having done a few UK parks and having visited a few other places like Drayton Manor, I joined the Roller Coaster Club of Great Britain. There was an advertisement on the back of a VHS cassette that I managed to find in one of my mum's catalogues called Thrill Machines. And in there it showed all the best UK coasters. And when I joined the Roller Coaster Club of Great Britain, they had a monthly magazine which gave me all the information I needed, and it led from there until where we are now.
Now Alton Towers has some very rich history, from being owned by the Earl family in the 17th century to the late 1950s, where they opened the stately home to the public. In the 1980s, Alton Towers opened its first major ride, the Corkscrew, which opened the door for many rides to come, such as the Black Hole and the Rapids, later on in the 1980s. This started to pave the way for Alton Towers to being one of the most popular parks in the country. However, by 1989, Alton Towers was in a very difficult place. It was losing its business and was moving away from its core concept, which at the time was for families to come visit. This affected it in many different ways, as Chessington was now starting to overtake it and being more popular. By 1990, Alton Towers had been bought out by the two Swords groups, and what they wanted to do first was expand the park and bring in more themed areas, just like what they had done at Chessington World Adventure in the late 1980s. Now, you'd think with two massive themed areas coming to Alton Towers, being Katanga Canyon and Gloomy Woods, that the park would become more popular. But that just wasn't the case. Now, after the 1992 season, the Tussauds Group knew they had to do something to make Alton Towers more popular, so they brought in John Wardley, the guy who was responsible for making Chessington as great as it was in the late 1980s, as well as helping them build Katanga Canyon and Gloomy Woods in 1992. Now, what did they want John Wardley to build? Well, it was obvious, a giant roller coaster. Now, John Wardley's initial plans for the new coaster was an arrow pipeline coaster that two lifts would be built into a hole so they could gain the height that the coaster would need. They originally called it Secret Weapon 1, however the first plan was deemed too boring, so they created another, calling it Secret Weapon 2. Now, after designing the plans for Secret Weapon 2, they went to test out the prototype of the arrow pipeline coaster. They found out that it was incredibly boring, and it was a total snooze fest, not giving them any excitement or thrills. Now, after realising how boring the arrow pipeline coaster was, John Wardley heard about the new B&M inverted coaster being created, and how exciting it apparently was. Now, John Wardley travelled to America to test out this new B&M inverted coaster. What did he find out about it? That's right, he absolutely loved it, and knew that it was the right ride for Alton Towers. So as soon as him and his team got back from America, they got straight to work, creating a design and a layout to make sure that they added enough thrills, while also making sure they didn't go above the trees. Now, for many years now, Alton Towers had faced problems from the local government, as they couldn't build above the trees, so they needed to find a solution for this. And that solution was obvious, of course. Guess what happened? With them blowing up the ground and making a giant hole for the coaster to go in. John Wardley loved the idea, as it allowed for the area to add an atmosphere to the coaster, so you'd be able to hear the roar of Nemesis as it went along. Now, even after creating a design and a layout for the coaster, they still had to think of a name and the theme for the ride. But John Wardley had just the right idea. How about we make it a monster? Now, even after they'd made the plans and the theme, they struggled with the name, and this took a long time as the coaster was starting to get built, but they still hadn't thought of a name for the ride. That was until John Wardley and Nick Varney decided to sit in a room all day and brainstorm for the idea, and eventually, after hours of brainstorming, they got the name Nemesis. Now, the construction for the coaster was finished, but the testing had just begun, and John Wardley and his team prayed that it would get round the track, hoping that it would not stall. Had it made it round? Did it succeed? And don't fail now, were all of the questions that the team were thinking. Luckily, it had made it round, and joy spread through the area. Now opening day had come along, and the only question left that the team had was the public going to enjoy the coaster? It was a success, and positive reviews was all that they were getting. The public loved it, and it was a massive hit with the media. Nemesis had worked, and had made Alton Towers the place to visit.
So what was it like visiting Nemesis in opening year?
After all the hype of all the newspapers and all the news and all the Blue Peter and everyone going on the coaster, it was amazing to finally get to the park and see what had been built. The most amazing machine I think I've ever been on, and still to this day. It still gives me butterflies every time I go on it, inside the rocks, the way it was dug out, and just a general theme. It was just a massive prototype coaster. No one had ever seen a coaster swing apart from when Vampire went in, but not in this way with loops. It was just so magical, and the G's it pulled, and the theming, and the monster, and all the blood rivers and everything. It was just something that no one had ever seen before, and I don't think anyone's ever seen something quite like it in this magnitude or this hype ever again.
However, not everything was sunshine and rainbows, because down at Drayton Manor they had just opened Shockwave, which had met with the same hype from the public and media. And don't forget Blackpool, who had just opened their world record coaster, the Pepsi Max Big One, which became the tallest roller coaster in the world. No one knowing which coaster would come out on top. Now this led to Alton Towers having a lot of competition in 1994. The Shockwave and the Pepsi Max Big One were big competitors for Nemesis.
Did you end up visiting Drayton Manor and Blackpool Pleasure Beach in 1994?
Much to my parents' dislike, yes. I used to drag them anywhere there was a theme park or anywhere across Europe. But definitely that year to ride Shockwave at Drayton Manor, first stand-up coaster, which was amazing to see Drayton after having visited the park for years as a child. Or Pepsi Max Big One really put Blackpool on the map. That changed the whole dynamics and the skyline of Blackpool for now and forever.
So do you think Blackpool and Drayton opening their coasters in 1994 affected Alton Towers?
Not so much affected, but added to the hype. To have 3 massive roller coasters in this country all opening in the same year, all around the same time, just added to the excitement, and obviously all the newspapers and TV programmes went crazy for them all. I think if anything, Nemesis won out. It was by far the best coaster. Yes, it wasn't the tallest, wasn't the fastest, didn't necessarily have a gimmick like a stand-up, but it was just the most amazing coaster with all the theming, which the other two never had.
Now you would think that with 3 world-class coasters opening in the same year in the UK, the Alton Towers may struggle. However, that wasn't the case, as Alton Towers actually got a huge boost from Blackpool and Manor opening their coasters, as more people were willing to travel to Alton Towers due to the publicity that Nemesis had gotten. Now, eventually, with every great thing, it must come to an end, and Nemesis was no different, for after 28 years of accepting riders, it came to an end in 2022, where it closed to be retracked and rethemed for 2024, where it would become Nemesis Reborn.
Do you think Nemesis got better or worse with age?
I think with any coaster it takes time to bed in. I think the most important thing with Nemesis is we've lost some of the key theming elements before the retrack. We started to lose things like the waterfalls, the colouring in the waterfalls due to local environmental reasons. And any track gets old, it needs a retheme, needs a repaint after a while. So I think it got better for a little while, and then it's never lost its magic or its thrill appeal. I think it's just the theming that's lost its magic over the years.
Now, getting the new experience ready for the public was a challenge, as the build and design team wanted to live up to how popular the original coaster was, and how it made many memories in people's hearts. Now it came time for the public to ride Nemesis Reborn, and if it would live up to the success that the original Nemesis had.
I think they've done an amazing job. I really like the paint on the track with the red veins. The eye is really amazing as it goes through. It's a really expensive piece of theming that I'm lucky they gave them the budget to do. They've kept some of the original bits. We've even got some of the waterfalls working again now, which is fantastic. Not red, but maybe one day, who knows. The whole area's come alive again. Opening day for the retheme was amazing to see the characters coming around and using the original backstory again, which we haven't seen for a long time.
So where does Nemesis end up ranking for you?
Still number 1 in the UK. Even after Hyperia opening and all the hype about the height and everything, Icon's a great coaster, but it's the only coaster that offers that level of theming and the backstory and the story and everything else. Worldwide, if I was to take my heart out of it, then you know, it's dropped down the list. There's other bigger inverted coasters. There's more scary rides out there, things that go off the sides of cliffs and mountains now. So I don't think you can claim it's still as the best like it used to be. But for me and my heart, it's always going to be number one.
Now, for most people, Nemesis is a special and one-of-a-kind roller coaster that paved the way for modern coasters in the UK, and was the coaster that cemented Alton Towers as the best park in the country for years to come. Nemesis now goes into its 32nd year of operation, hoping to let the new generation of fans to experience it just like the 30 years prior, hoping it will live for another 30. But what does the world have in store for Nemesis next? Only time will tell. How have you experienced Nemesis over the years? Did you grow up going to the park with family, or did you see it open here? Now, Nemesis is a special ride and one that will go down in history for theme parks. Now, there is only one more question to ask. What does Nemesis mean to you?